Welcome to the Cyber Chronicles. My name is Brian Stevenson, and I am your host. We scrub the internet so you don't have to. We're going to talk about 5 most shared articles of the week of the March 23rd, 2019. Hard to believe it's 2019 already. We're going to talk about, this is a really interesting article. Anonymous apparently hacked FEMA over the weekend. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a sacked IT guy who went rogue and annihilated 23 of his ex-employers' AWS servers. Oops. We're going to talk about Microsoft putting an antivirus product together for, get this, the Mac. And we're going to talk about a Putty release software update that you need to be aware of if you're using Putty. And we're going to talk about why you need to change your Facebook password after this episode or right now. But first, let's get started. Okay, our first article comes to us from Global Post. FEMA hacked. The anonymous collective hacks the U.S. servers in defense of Snowden. Interesting article. A lot of people talking about it on the internet. You can go to the Twitterverse. It's all over there. Hackers within the anonymous collective have claimed to have broken in a server used by FEMA and say they're going to release stolen data in what could be the highest profile security breach since the release of NSA documents by our Edward Snowden. So the Global Post published online on Wednesday, the hacker collective data did include user accounts and password, appeared to be government employees because of the MIL or gov domain. FEMA did not respond to requests to comment. If you look at the Twitter feed, and we'll have a link on this down below, a lot of people are disputing this claim, saying this information is just really, really old and it doesn't pose any threat to the U.S. government. But nevertheless, Anonymous say they've hacked FEMA. I'm going to err on the fact of believing Anonymous. I'm sorry. That's our first most popular article. Let's move on. Okay, our next article comes to us from Sophos, and this should be a lesson to every company out there. They sacked an IT guy, and he annihilates 23 of his ex-employers' AWS servers. The employee from hell has been jailed. This is from Sophos, by the way. I'm not saying this. This is Sophos. Has been jailed after he was fired after a measly 4 weeks, ripped off the former employer's login, steamrolled through his former employee's Amazon AWS accounts, and torched 23 servers. 36-year-old Stephen Nedham of Great Manchester was jailed for 2 years at the Reading Crown Court following a 9-day trial. So, as always, if you're going to let somebody go, obviously make sure that you've got their credentials and they don't have access to AWS servers. That should be a lesson for a lot of different companies out there. Nevertheless, that happened, and we'll move on to our next article. Okay, our next article, this one's kind of weird. Microsoft announced Windows Defender ATP antivirus for the Mac. I'm sorry, Windows Defender ATP. So they're going to have to change that name, aren't they? Microsoft announced its plans to launch Defender ATP. See, they're already changing it to Defender ATP. In the future, the company has not explicitly named those platforms. It's not clear if Microsoft is also planning to launch a consumer version of the Microsoft Defender for Mac in the future, but it looks like they are going to have a Mac version coming out for businesses. So, interesting article. We'll have the post down below, and let's move on. Okay, our next article talks about a very important software release for Putty. So this is a open source SSH program that allows computers to remotely access other computers over SSH, Telnet, and other network protocols. Looks like after 20 months after releasing its last version of the software, they released 8 high-severity flaws in the program. So if you're using that, and a lot of people do, please go to get that update and upgrade on your software. It's available. We'll have the link down below, and let's move on to our next article. Okay, our most popular article. We've already moved to our most popular article of the week, kids. Facebook stored millions of passwords in plain text. Change yours now. So by now it's difficult to summarize all of Facebook's privacy misuses and security missteps, just by Wired magazine, by the way, in its neat description. But it's got it even harder. On Thursday, following a report by Krebs on security, love that guy, Facebook acknowledged a bug in its password management system, which caused hundreds of millions of user passwords for Facebook, Facebook Lite, and Instagram to be stored in plain text. You just can't make this stuff up. Even the biggest companies of the world aren't getting the fundamentals down. So anyway, it could be a jackpot for hackers. It's on their internal platform only. We're going to have the article down below. Wired Magazine, of course, does an excellent job talking about exactly what happened. But if you're using Facebook or Instagram, change your password now. Call your parents and have them change their passwords. They're probably using 123 or password or incorrect to be funny. Change your passwords, and that was our top most popular article of the week. So we'd like to thank everybody for listening to this episode. As always, hit the subscribe button or hit the subscribe if you're listening to this via podcast. We appreciate all of our listeners. It's growing very, very fast. And we're looking for sponsors. If you would like to sponsor an episode, please let us know. The cost is only $12,855. I'm kidding. It's not that much. I wish it was. But we have costs. We'd love to offset some of these costs. So with that, we'd like to thank everybody and be safe and take care.